The legislature is in its third week, wrestling with the controversial co-employee measure designed to restrict lawsuits for on-the-job injuries. Governor Wallace said he wasn't able to get the two sides to agree to anything before the session, and then hoped that throwing them into the legislative ring would bring things to a head. But the trial lawyers and business interests haven't given an inch.
I totally disagree with those few on each side of the issue who claim there's no room for compromise. I think that point of view stems from a handful of business interests who do not want competition and a handful of trial lawyers who do not want the number of potential lawsuits diminished. In my opinion, neither side represents the best interest of this state, and we must find a middle ground.
The key to the issue centers on the words willful or wanton. Business wants lawsuits to be based on willful intent, or in other words, the injury had to be intended. Meanwhile, trial lawyers are holding out for wanton injuries, or injuries which knowingly could have been prevented but were not intended. The governor suggests a combination of the two. But again, the matter rests in the lap of the Senate Business and Labor Committee, which meets tomorrow morning. Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News.
And the new Employee Community Relations Manager, Mr. Clyde C. Hobbs. Clyde here is a native Alabamian and very anxious to be thermoplastic resins and specialty downstream products. Building under the Ford Station. I can't think of what to call it. You can go over here.
Pike County commissioners are willing to admit the districts are off balance and need to be changed. More than 1/2 of the county's residents vote in one district. Now the big question is, how soon can new lines be drawn?
No one argues the point that there is a substantial malapportionment of the county commission districts in Pike County. The question which we're trying to address and that there remains to be some agreement on as to what procedure will we follow for the elections coming up in September and what are going to be the new district lines.
The Hendersons want to draw a plan in time to hold a September 4th primary and then work on a more permanent map. But the county commissioners want to postpone the elections until an expert can come in to draw the lines. The county's attorney, who doesn't want to talk on camera, thinks the delay would be short, about 3 weeks. The Hendersons see the lawsuit as a way to open up Pike County politics.
And possible more blacks will be running for office and be elected. We just can't get black representation, so our communities are neglected.
A black person has never been elected to the Pike County Commission. And even though the commissioners are working on new district lines, they're fighting allegations that the district lines were set up to discriminate against blacks. Susan Silvernail, WSFA TV News.
Totally disagree with those few on each side of the issue who claim there's no room for... I totally disagree with those few on each side of the issue who claim there's no room for compromise. I think that point of view stems from a handful of business interests who do not want competition and a handful of trial lawyers who do not want the number of potential lawsuits diminished. In my opinion, neither side represents the best interest of this state, and we must find a middle ground.
They say we hadn't got any more money, and we're trying to work out our problem with.
And what side of the cell's that on? He'll tell you about an indication of the head, which side of the cell the message will be on. He said that side, so I said thanks.
Very good, very good.
It's not on this board.
Oh, thank you.
But I happen to know where you're going.
I guess we'll still be talking.
I'll explain
This is children, we're going to have them work with the activities that are set up for the children who can. What's going on, Jen?
They have a computer.
Because there were never, because
Oh,
it's so
we
complicated.
Oh, we've got to go.
General Ridgway describes crossing the British Channel as uneventful until they hit the coast of France and heavy fog.
But it only lasted, perhaps a minute or so, and they were out of that cloud bank. And then almost immediately the red light came on and meant you were 2 minutes out, and then the go.
For some, the go light meant their last jump, landing in swamps that were over 6 feet deep or being shot by the Germans. For General Ridgway, he landed safely in a pasture. He says everything was going just fine until he dropped his gun while undoing his parachute harness.
I was trying to fight it in the grass there, and then I saw this shadowy form not far from me, and I challenged, and before I could get the answer, I saw it was a cow. So it was a very comforting scene.
Not all the men were so lucky. Before the day was over, many would lose their lives fighting between the hedgerows of Normandy. And what does General Ridgway remember most about what he calls his most memorable command? The attitude of his men.
They were exhilarated and proud to be in the assault echelon, these men were.
Don Phelps, WSFA TV News on the Military Beat. Most would say Jim Levy has it made. He has a nice house, a lovely wife, and has built a successful business. He's at the point where he can take it easy, a point where he can reflect on other times. Perhaps even the time when he was a young man in his mid-20s, spending a day on a beach in France. Captain Jim Levy was one of thousands of young men who spent his day 40 years ago on Omaha Beach during the D-Day invasion.
He felt very much alone, often, and always exposed, always listening for an incoming shell.
And with the bullets flying, rounds exploding, dead and wounded GIs all around, Jim says it didn't seem real. It seemed more like a movie.
I guess it's a good thing. Otherwise, had I thought more clearly, I'd probably been scared to death with all the people that, the wounded and the dead that were there. They could not evacuate wounded for several days.
And what would prevent a young man or any man for that fact, from running away from that type of danger.
Just that you just thought of what had to be done, and there was no backing up or backing out. Now and again, you get a flashback. Something triggers a memory, whether it be something on TV or what have you, and it still shakes you up pretty well.
Jim says he's glad he was exposed to D-Day, but it's something he never wants to go through again. Don Phelps, WSFA TV News on the Military Beat.
Most of the traveling public does not like the idea of connecting in Atlanta because of the size of Atlanta. A lot of people consider the hassle. Our airline has made major inroads into doing everything we can to lessen the problems for connecting in Atlanta. If you had originated on Eastern in Atlanta. I've heard a lot of comments in our research.
Dr. Taylor D. Caddy, Mr. Sam Carroll Jr. has officially been re-elected to serve place number 5. I guess we're talking about 4 or 5 next month's race. I'd like to second that. I've got there you go.
Hopefully the next council meeting will have stipends ready and very grateful to the citizens of Ozark for.
Does any councilman have any comments?
Nestled between Oak and Double Oak Mountains outside of Birmingham is Shoal Creek, a course that Jack built. 7,145 yards of scenic fairways and multi-tiered bent grass greens. Not only is the 66th PGA Championship the first major tournament for the 7-year-old course, it's the first major in Alabama golf history. During press day activities Monday, PGA officials predicted a record-setting event.
It's going to be the most successful major that I've ever worked on, and that is including 15 U.S. Opens.
You're not just saying that to make us feel
No,
good.
no, I'm not. No, our ticket sales are exceptional. Our advertising has been exceptional, and we're going to have one tremendous championship.
Conditions are going to be probably the best that the players have ever seen. The hospitality, the club facilities, the Birmingham hospitality, the state of Alabama hospitality, and the amount of money it's going to bring into the state of Alabama and the people and the revenues is going to be fantastic. And for the PGA of America, it's going to be, for junior golfers and for the programs, it's going to be the most rewarding they've ever had. So what else can you say? It's everything's great.
Dave and fellow touring pro Hubert Green are regular dues-paying members at Shoal Creek. The course designed by Jack Nicklaus at the insistence of Alabama industrialist Paul Thompson.
We're going to do a good job, and I think the golf course will be a proper test. There'll be some red numbers on those leaderboards, but, you know, the galleries like to see red numbers. And they're not going to take this golf course apart.
Don't look for Shoal Creek to become a regular PGA Tour stop. Thompson questions whether his membership would allow it and whether Birmingham would support it. The course will host the 1986 U.S. Amateur and is being considered for a U.S. Open later this decade. Dave Cody, WSFA TV Sports.
Happy with some of the recruiting and some of the players coming back for that university and for the athletic department.
One thing that we felt like it was a great opportunity. This situation with the resources here at the University of Miami, it is the thing that we were looking for, not just a few days ago or a year ago or 10 years ago. This is the thing that we've always been looking for, and this is the thing that I would have been looking for 10 years from now.
You've got a great place to live. We've got a great place to live. And that attracted us to the University of Miami.
I've actually thought about my career actually being over with. You know, the other injuries were such that you knew that sooner or later you'd get back in there, and it was a question of time and, you know, all that. But I think this time, for the first time, was the time that I actually sat there and said, hey, you know, I might not be doing this much longer.
We have identified probably 4 or 5 fences or people within the city who are dealing in stolen property, buying and selling stolen property. We have learned this through tracing some of the property that came from some of these burglaries in the Cloverdale area.
Switch to 3-137.
Sheriff's officials say the ring specialized in TVs, VCRs, stereos, and telephones. 7 suspects are still in jail, charged with offenses ranging from burglary to receiving stolen property. Lieutenant W.M. Pilgreen is the spokesman for the Sheriff's Department.
Our department has uncovered a burglary and fencing ring operating in Montgomery County. Thus far, we have 9 arrests, 4 juveniles and 5 adults. We recovered approximately $12,000 worth of merchandise so far. Recovery of additional merchandise and other charges are expected soon.
Investigators say the young burglars were paid money and drugs by the adults who are now facing charges of buying and receiving the stolen items. This is the second major burglary ring in the county uncovered by the county sheriff's office in the last 2 months. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News reporting.
I look back over my experiences and I found something.
Deputy Chief of Staff, Command Department Personnel, Headquarters, United States Air Force in Washington. General Peake has a very diversified background.
One last time.
Ozark, like most cities, has worked to keep its downtown area alive. Ozark residents are proud of how clean the area has been kept. But that scene changed 3 months ago when a tornado ripped through downtown. Instead of rebuilding, several businesses closed their doors.
It's just a coincidence that the authority was formed the same year a tornado hit downtown Ozark, but city officials say the authority should help rebuild the downtown area.
The City Council last night gave its stamp of approval to the authority. 7 residents were appointed to serve.
Will afford them certain incentives and advantages that they would not have otherwise, since the federal government was so gracious in not awarding us any disaster aid.
Attorney Ken Quattlebaum spearheaded the effort. He got the idea from a similar authority in Dothan.
The owner of the property deeds the property to the authority. The authority then borrows the money itself and leases the property back to the owner under a lease purchase agreement.
Only last week, the roof of this tornado-damaged building collapsed. Quattlebaum hopes the owners of stores like this one and others will use the loans to make downtown Ozark as attractive as possible for more businesses. Cal Calloway, WSFA TV News, Ozark.
I look forward to meeting the voters and discussing with them the efficient operation of their district court. I intend to run a positive campaign, with my only promise being, if elected, to administer the law justly and fairly to all who come before this court. With my 8 years' experience in the Montgomery County court system and good common sense, I feel that I can provide the service that this county needs and deserves. Thank you.
I know Mr. Mondale asked me, he hoped that I would come, but I'm not sure whether I'll go or not. But if I don't go, I'll send an alternate delegate that will vote the wishes of Alabama Democrats who participated in the primary.
For people in military service, there's no such thing as unemployment. As long as they're in, they've got a job. But that's not so when they get out. That's why today at a local university, government officials were talking to business leaders about an innovative program to help unemployed veterans. It's called the Emergency Veterans Job Training Program.
The program is a program whereby the employer is paid a sum of money by the Veterans Administration, up to $10,000, for employing a veteran and training a veteran.
In other words, the government will pay half the starting salary for a Korean or Vietnam-era veteran who's been out of work for 15 of the past 20 weeks. The program has actually been underway since January. The response from employers has not been as good as hoped for.
The biggest problem is employer interest right now as we see it.
The response from veterans, on the other hand, has been fairly positive.
We have better than 4,000 veterans who have registered for the program in this state.
The program has been purposely made easy for employers to get into. The application is only 1 page long, just another incentive for them to get involved. So far, a little more than 200 veterans have been hired under this program. Directors had hoped for more. Still, they think by the end of the year, they may be able to get enough veterans into the program to extend it into 1985. Tom Foreman, WSFA TV News. The Emergency Veterans Job Training Program was set up to help unemployed vets find work, but so far the program itself has not found many takers.
We have a little over 200 that have been hired in training positions on this program.
The program offers to pay half the salary, up to $10,000, for Korean and Vietnam-era veterans hired after being unemployed 15 out of 20 weeks. But while 4,000 veterans in Alabama have tried to get into the program since it started the first of the year, not as many employers are biting.
The biggest problem is employer interest right now as we see it.
The application for employers to get started in this program is simple. It's only 1 page long. It was made that way in the hopes that more employers would take the effort to get involved. And that, along with promotional meetings like this one, may be working.
I think the program has good promise, and I think it really would provide a great service for us.
Tom Foreman, WSFA TV News.
More money and stay in session. I would like a direct answer that we can come back tomorrow regardless of what's in it. We can come back to call a roll and quit, and we probably preclude ourselves from making any meaningful changes in any of the bills that we might pass. And
Sun broke a little bit later. The day of that plan.
and Toro Roll and quit, and we probably preclude ourselves from making any meaningful changes in any of the bills that we might pass. And
Sun broke a little bit later. The day of that plant.
Until recent years, about the most complicated electronic device on an automobile was the headlight dimmer switch. But that's rapidly changing. Not only do we have cars that talk, we may soon have those that listen.
Lights are on.
Many of today's Japanese cars dazzle you with a range of voice announcements and blazing instrument panels that look more like the inside of a jet fighter than a motor vehicle. This one even has a magnetic compass. Another Japanese import brings the operating controls up close and personal with an option to adjust the control panels. American automakers are also on the electronics bandwagon. This sports car has a 21st century instrument panel and more different colored lights than a Christmas tree. It's high-tech all the way to its wheels. This specially designed turbine blade shape actually helps to cool the brake system. European designers are also riding the crest of electronic features. This German luxury car has a multifunction navigation computer that keeps you advised of such things as average speed and fuel consumption. Another German automaker combines electronics, safety, and comfort. Once you close the door, this model offers you the seat belt. And this one remembers how you like your seat adjusted. If your spouse prefers the seat in a different position, it remembers that too. Perhaps the impetus for this electronic revolution came from the federal government in a demand for more fuel-efficient cars. Not only do these miniature electronic brains keep the engine running smooth, they also hook up to other computers to speed service work. All these gee-whiz electronic advancements for the automobile won't be cheap. And if you're a shade tree mechanic, you might think twice before you dive under the hood for what was once a simple tune-up. Dennis Latham, WSFA TV News. I'm Dennis Latham. Coming up on the 6 o'clock report, I'll tell you about some almost unbelievable electronic devices available on automobiles today.
Remember, Lord, the families of those who did not return, that this day will be a day of worthy remembrance, that I will comfort them with the assurance that having died in a cause that their loved ones believed to be right, in obedience to the call of their nation and freedom, God will protect them.
Samuel is hitting .311 and really makes things happen for the Phillies. His speed is outstanding. Sammy, as he's called by his teammates, is tied for the National League lead in stolen bases and leads the majors in triples. He's a rookie who plays the game like a 10-year veteran.
I could say it's the confidence there, and they really gave me by giving me the job and letting me know that no matter what, I'm the second baseman.
The thing is, we have to have patience with him. He's going to make some mistakes here and there, and he's going to get in little slumps, but he could play through all those. He's that type of player, and I don't think it's a surprise that he's done this well to a lot of us that know him. If he can maintain that pace that he's at right now, he's just got to be Rookie of the Year.
Sam Wells says he doesn't want to think about any postseason honors. His only weakness may be defensively, and that's where he wants to improve.
See the RSC 2% increase in February of 83 is $31 million. The two this year, both in April, have to help us accomplish those objectives. Has, I suppose, made a significant contribution.
The American Revolution began, as historians say, in the pulpits of the churches of New England. And they thundered forth with the great declarations of Scripture concerning liberty. And I think that churches have realized that it is their responsibility to say what God says about every sphere of life.
They came from 12 states and 27 cities to be together. This is the high school class of 1934, a class that could rent a cap and gown for $1.75 and buy a class ring for $8.50.
We were Depression children, but it didn't seem to faze us. It made us strong.
The optimism of the New Deal was capturing the country, and that captured us. We revived our oracle that year. It hadn't been published in 3 or 4 years due to the Depression. And with the spirit of the New Deal, we decided we could put out an oracle, which we did.
Dan Brock and Teresa Sachs were voted most influential by their classmates. Montgomeryans will recognize the boy voted the cutest. He's Earl James, once mayor of the city. James remembers his old football team.
It was just, on Friday night, the whole town, it was just Lanier football. But
you haven't been... Susan Silvernail, WSFA TV News.
Okay, what you did is you crashed us.
That could have happened to a student pilot in a real helicopter, a costly mistake that could have injured or killed a student and a crew. But this crash took place inside this building on base at Fort Rucker, and no one was hurt. There are only 4 other bases in the world with this kind of multi-purpose equipment.
We can plan a mission inside the simulator, go ahead and fly it completely and take him through day, night, malfunctions, change the ceiling and visibility on him, and do all these things that you couldn't possibly do in the real aircraft.
In 2 years, Ford Rucker has invested more than $86 million for these simulators, but even that's cheaper and safer than flying the real thing.
We're paying for them almost within a year, simply because it's a lot cheaper to operate the simulator than it is the actual aircraft.
But money isn't the only consideration. It takes less time to train aviators on these computer-driven simulators than in a full-fledged chopper.
Tremendous savings on the time that we involve with the students. The simulator has replaced on some of the aircraft 2 hours to 1. In other words, they were getting 50 hours in the real aircraft. Now we can do that training in the simulator at far cheaper cost than the real aircraft can do, and to its better training.
Gilmore says simulator technology continues to advance, and his students are better prepared than ever before.
That's the only way to go, because the maintenance cost and the fuel cost of the real aircraft is just prohibitive. We can do so much more in a simulator in a 1-hour training period than we could possibly do in the aircraft. So simulation is the wave of the future.
But after a day of trying my hand at this, I guess I'm ready to leave the flying to the Army. Mary Beth Boyd, WSFA TV News at the Army Aviation Center, Fort Rucker.
"34 people died last year in boating accidents in the state of Alabama. 63 were seriously injured. And Marine Police Officer Randy Chestnut says here, as on land, alcohol is to blame for many of the deaths.
Well, they get out here on the water and they had too much to drink. They're legally intoxicated. You slow your reaction time down. And you get a number of boats out here, congested area. You've got no brakes on this type of vessel. You can't stop, so if you don't have all your senses and all your reaction about you, you can cause a great deal of problems.
The basic problem, as the Marine Police see it, is that not enough people take boating safety seriously. They don't wear life preservers. They don't think about what they're doing.
People get out here on the lakes and on the waters of the state, and they're on their off time, they're relaxing, they're enjoying themselves, and they just feel that alcohol is part of it.
So far this year, 15 people have died in boating accidents in this state. Again, alcohol has been a big part of the problem. Marine police are pushing for tougher laws for intoxicated boaters, but so far, state lawmakers have not felt the need to crack down on this sort of drunk driving. But no matter how strict the laws are, Marine police say unless people use common sense, there's still going to be boating accidents and people are still going to die needlessly. Tom Foreman, WSFA TV News.
People just get out here and it seems like sometimes they leave their common sense in their car. They need to concentrate and think what they're doing and leave the alcohol alone if they're going to operate the vessel.
I got off work for it.
Yes, sir, buddy. I might as well give me the keys now.
Because I don't have a car. I need one. I need one real bad. So I'm gonna be the last one to leave. No, you ain't. Yes, I am.
While the state employee pay raise and highway bond program passed by a broad margin, the House took its time debating the issues. The pay raise was set at 10%, but members spent quite some time working out last-minute technical problems on how the pay raise might affect some salaries of county employees. The Senate originally set the pay raise at 11%, but accepted the House version at 10%, which had been requested by Governor Wallace and accepted by the State Employees Association. The highway bond program was also approved by a large margin. The House had tacked on an amendment by Representative Alvin Holmes requiring that at least 15% of the fees for issuing the bonds go to black attorneys, but the Senate turned that change down. The bond program essentially consolidates a series of old bonds, combines it with some new bonds, and the net effect is to generate the state some $24 to $30 million over the next 5 years to be used to subsidize the ailing general fund budget. There was yet another shot taken by the House to revive a bill designed to abolish the State Aeronautics Board and place its duties under the Highway Department. The Aeronautics Board underwent some stiff scrutiny earlier this year, although no wrongdoing was uncovered. The latest effort failed, and the Aeronautics Board stays intact. Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News.
Burn coal.
Lakers in goal. Magic working inside. The steal by Cedric Maxwell. He'll feed to Robert Parrish. Parrish with a big night had 25 points for the Celtics. Magic Johnson did have an outstanding game for L.A. here on a fine drive and a 20-point performance. But perhaps the real star for L.A. was James Worthy. He had a great game around Larry Bird. 30 points. The Lakers led 68-58 at the half. Kurt Rambis then would be the receiver of the hit of the game. Kevin McHale devastates him along with a little help from Gerald Henderson. The two go at it. Rambis into the stands, and peace was restored. Now, Kareem, the star of this game offensively, with 32 points for the Lakers before he fouled out. With 10 seconds to go, they were tied 113 all. A key steal as Magic Johnson loses the ball. Robert Parrish has it. The Celtics call timeout. The Celtics with the last shot. Bird from long range, it won't go. McHale on the rebound misses. It will go into overtime, tied 113 to 113. In overtime, they were tied when there was a big play from Larry Bird, who hits and scores as the Celtics down the Lakers 129 to 125.
Things. I think we came out with intensity. We came out with mental toughness, and that's why it takes a win against these two big teams. Guys, we were saying we will not be denied, no matter what it takes. We will not be denied. I think DJ really came out and played a strong game defensively. Larry hit the big one down the stretch. There's so many things happening. But collectively, as a team, we were positioning ourselves mentally not to be denied this ball game.
Well, I think we adapted to the game very well. I think that we maybe overemphasized the physicalness of it, and I think that kind of took us out of our mental game.
Did this game get out of hand?
Yeah, I think so. I think, they just took certain scapegoats and assessed them to foul.
When you say they, you talking about the officials?
Well, I guess that's what they were. I don't know.
They came out real strong, as if they were going to continue what they had been doing, and we met them head on. So I was very proud of them.
I would like to see Paul come back. I think he could make some good, solid contributions to helping our football team win this year, whether or not he is the starting quarterback. And he's the one that just has to make up his mind whether he would like to do that or not. But I firmly believe that he could help us. So.
See it? Hey! Ah, that's a good layout right there.
This is the first of 3 4-day sessions of the Ray Perkins football camp.
Whoa!
Both the experienced and not so experienced players benefit from the camp.
He's helped us on our throwing a lot. He's helped me out a lot since I've been here.
Self-defense now. Good catch, way to go.
There is praise for those who learn their lessons well, and something called a down and up for those who don't. Well, that doesn't look like much fun. Believe me, it's not. But the man who lends his name to the camp insists its main objective, among other things, is to show the campers a good time.
More than anything else, one more way of a recruiting tactic, getting them on our campus, and maybe they'll be impressed the first time and come back again. We've got several campers in this first group that were here last year. And I can guarantee you they enjoy it. I think our coaches enjoy it more than they do.
Oh, we still got hope.
Many of the campers rest their tired and aching muscles at Paul Bryant Hall, occupied by the Alabama Crimson Tide during the fall, and they eat in the same dining hall where the bigger boys eat. As you might imagine, all of this is making quite a lasting impression.
All the Alabama players have stayed over there, and I've thought about all the people that have stayed in the room that I'm in right now.
I sort of wish, I had the chance to do this.
For former Tide great Barry Krause, who says he didn't have a camp to go to, this one serves a dual purpose.
You get a chance to work with young people and yet keep yourself in shape too.
That's right, they run you. I'll tell you, we try to run them all day, and it seems like 6 o'clock the next morning they're ready to go again. And as the years go on, it's harder for me to keep up with them.
Well, this is an unusually great occasion for the Lindsay weekend, which will be 14. I was on the phone with George just a few minutes ago. He's in Nashville doing the hee-haw shows for this year, and he said that he was thrilled that we were able to raise this much money out of the goodness of people's hearts in our area, and he said it is especially heartwarming that so many people were so generous to so many special children. So, gentlemen, we have members of the Kiwanis Club here with us, Susan, of course, from our office, and Mike Easler and Lawson Shaw of the Kiwanis Club, and then representing Alabama Special Olympics, Mr. Jerry Spencer, a member of the board, and the director, Mr. Danny Long. Danny, Jerry, check of, excuse me, at least get the right one. Yeah, $58,000 to Special Olympics. I know you all will use it well.
Well, Phil, on behalf of the 20,000 special athletes in Alabama Special Olympics, it's over 6,000 volunteers, we want to say thanks a million, George Lindsay, to you and to all the citizens of Alabama that's made this program so successful.
The workers showed up at the plant to meet with management to complain about working conditions and other gripes employees say they have.
The issues are the benefits at this plant out here. Vacation, no raise in the past 2 or 3 years, no insurance, no benefits at all. The working conditions are unstable. The air conditioning unit goes out and they take their time about getting it together.
Requests for a response from plant owners to charges by employees have been unsuccessful. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News reporting.
No doubt about it, Montgomery's Southern Bypass is not a fun place to be during rush hour, at least not if you're trying to go anywhere. In fact, just about any time of the day, if you're trying to get around town, this is not the best route. The problem is, too often, this is the only route. Try as you might, you just about can't get to the malls, the restaurants, the movies, or shopping centers around here without at one time or another getting onto the bypass.
I think all of the planners now are seeing that the Southern Boulevard and the Eastern Boulevard in Montgomery have become hopelessly clogged, and something has got to give. And that something has got to be in the form of either approximately six overpasses or another access route.
Sort of a double bypass for a city. What the mayor is talking about is a road to start somewhere west of the airport and run well south of town, eventually tying into Interstate 85 around the Middling exit. If that sounds like it's a long way out, it's only because the city wants to get well clear of the rapid growth on the east side.
This area from the Troy Highway up to the Atlanta Highway east of the boulevard, Eastern Boulevard, is going to develop rapidly in the next few years, and I predict growth all in these areas just within the next few years.
In other words, they don't want to have the same problems with the new bypass that they've got with the old one. Eventually, the new outer loop would extend on up to Highway 231 north toward Wetumpka. Of course, all of this will cost millions of dollars. The city can't afford it, so the money will probably come from the federal government. But it will also take time. With luck, it could be done in another 10 years. So you may be late to work tomorrow, but you'll have a good excuse. Tom Foreman, WSFA TV News on the bypass.
This is an unusually great occasion for the Lindsay weekend, which will be 14. I was on the phone with George just a few minutes ago. He's in Nashville doing the hee-haw shows for this year, and he said that he was thrilled that we were able to raise this much money out of the goodness of people's hearts in our area, and he said it is especially heartwarming that so many people were so generous to so many special children. So, gentlemen, Danny, Jerry, check of, excuse me, let's get the right one. Yeah, $58,000 to Special Olympics. I know you all will use it well.
Well, Phil, on behalf of the 20,000 special athletes in Alabama Special Olympics, over 6,000 volunteers, we want to say thanks a million, George Lindsay, to you and to all the citizens of Alabama that's made this program so successful.
Hello. I'm Deputy Road Inspector, and I'm here to check to see your certificates on the dogs.
Oh, yes. Just a moment. I'll get them for you. Moon. This is when she was shipped to be bred, and we got a state.
He interviews prospective owners, and if they don't meet this criteria, they don't get a permit.
The appeal claims that the commissioner's denial for rezoning was arbitrary and an abuse of the authority and discretion vested in the Board of Commissioners. The property in question is located at Burkett and Old Webb Roads. About 50 residents from the area went to the commission meeting in opposition to the mobile home park. Many of them argued that their property values would drop and there would be an increase in crime and traffic flows.
The statistics from the Dothan police computer showed without a doubt that the crime rate is higher in areas around mobile home parks than in other areas of the city, sometimes 200% higher and more.
Although Mayor Everett wouldn't comment on the matter, Dowling says this lawsuit was uncalled for.
I don't feel that it's very good interest of the city for the mayor to be taking his own city to court. If he wants to do that, why doesn't he just become a private developer?
So far, no trial date has been set to hear the mayor's suit. Mary Beth Boyd, WSFA TV News, Dothan.
He would have a lot of responsibilities. He would be charged with reviewing everyone to see that competition prevails, and if his recommendations were not followed, there is a requirement that the agency of the Department of Defense would have to report to Congress the reasons why it was not followed. So this affirmatively puts the issue of competition clearly on the backs of the bureaucrats in the Pentagon.
This year it's Joe Marshall of the Blue Alabama. Tony?
Don't worry, you ain't gonna get a chance to get this microphone, because when I get through, we're fixing to put appreciation. Lewis Golson, we love you, buddy. Play ball!
Where'd it go?
The house right here.
Good job. Hey. There you go. All right, good out. Come on. That's way to work, man. Get some.
What you gonna do this weekend and that sort of thing? You gonna be out on the river with the major?
They are the market for the stolen property, and if we can do something with the market, diminish the market where there's no longer a market there, then the people aren't going to be willing to go in the house and take the chance of getting the property and having to hold it themselves if they can't dispose of it.
Okay.
We beat New Jersey, so I think we have to play them tough like we're playing Philly or New Jersey. We have to prepare longer and hope for the best.
We have a great opportunity ahead of us. We still can win. If we win 2 out of these next 3, we have the division title, and that's something we want. And from going into the playoffs, I think that would give us a little more leverage if we were division title winners.
park it somewhere it belongs. He's also got to help make $100 donation.
I feel great. I'm ready.
You gonna win it?
If we're gonna go 50 more hours, I'm gonna win it. And the last one standing gets the car, which is me. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna be here.
What makes you so sure?
I got a twin brother coming in the morning.
System that we presently have and the one that we've had over the last several years has worked fairly well until there's one devised that will work better and determine a national championship better. I'm for staying with what we've got.